This is so exciting to see so many people here. So I am Kristen Stevens. I am the Director of Career Development, and I was told there was something called Christendom Time, and you all have totally blown that out of the water, and apparently it doesn't actually exist. So we are going to start on time. Yes. Thank you. There's so much excitement in here, so we're going to go ahead and get started. There are still some snacks. The lemon cookies apparently aren't very popular, but grab one if you want to. They're the little thin ones. Kevin's got them for you. First of all, I want to thank my bartenders, Kevin, Henry, and Joe, for stepping up and helping out tonight. I really appreciate it. And you should appreciate them too. And Miss Abigail Thomas is over there in the beautiful green and white polka dot dress checking people in. She is my awesome helper, so thank you, Abigail. Could not be here without her. So welcome to the very first Life on Tap for this school year. I'm so excited to see all of you here. I'm going to read a little from my notes so that I make sure I don't forget anything. Let's see here. So the purpose of Life on Tap events is twofold. First, we want to give you an insight into the varied and vast career fields that you can go into when you leave Christendom. And second, we want to give you an opportunity to meet alumni and to build your professional network. So after they're done speaking, we'll have time for question and answers, and you guys can chat with them afterwards too, so get to know them. So hopefully, since you arrived here on campus, you've heard it said many times that you can do anything with a degree from Christendom, right? Everybody knows that, correct? Nod your head, say yes, please. This is the crowd participation part. So at some point, we want you to focus on just a few avenues for that career, and that's why I've been meeting with a lot of the freshmen to get to know where you want to go, and hopefully all of you seniors that are here, you won't forget to book an appointment with me as well, so we can talk about you graduating in the spring, and I can help you guys pursue what you want to be doing. So Christendom's Alumni Network and Mentor Program are perfect ways to help you narrow that job search. Connecting with alumni who were once in your shoes will help you gain the confidence and wisdom you need to strive for greatness and achieve success in your future career. So tonight's alumni speakers are in the field of business and entrepreneurship, and we are so happy to have Jeremy Minnick and Lawrence Ergo, or Larry, back to campus to speak to us tonight. So I think we'll start with Jeremy. Jeremy Minnick is the owner and founder of Enable, a web design and marketing firm that helps small businesses win their market. He started Enable during his junior year of college. That's a competition for you all. And launched his company on the relationships he built with Christendom alumni business owners. At Christendom, he immersed himself in playing sports, studying philosophy, and growing spiritually. All right, and actually I'm going to introduce Larry as well. Larry Ergo is an entrepreneur and multi-business owner who resides in Front Royal, Virginia with his wife and daughter. He attended Christendom from 2011 to 2015. He has a passion for building business with a strong desire to affect positive change in the community, starting with his employees through the clients he serves in Front Royal and throughout the state of Virginia. So join me in welcoming both of these gentlemen here, and I invite Jeremy to speak.
So in case you guys are wondering, I am not Jeremy. I am Larry. So I'm going to speak first. I know a lot of you guys in the room, and there's plenty of you I do not know. So I just want to start off and introduce myself. I'm Lawrence Ergo. I am the owner and founder of All Claims Pro Public Adjusting. It's a public adjusting firm. And I'm actually very honored to be back here at Christendom and in front of you all today, because it wasn't that long ago that I was not allowed on campus, and then after that a little too ashamed to come back on campus. So this is definitely a little different for me. But before we get talking about entrepreneurship and business, I do want to just give you a little background on my life, kind of what led me to Christendom, and then ultimately my removal from Christendom, and then kind of how that played into my life and my businesses as well. So a little bit about me. I'm born in Connecticut and grew up in North Carolina. I'm the oldest of 6 kids. When I was 14, I made the decision to go to Canada to go play hockey. That's always been one of my biggest passions growing up as a kid. And like every young hockey player, I thought I was going to play in the NHL someday. When I was 15, I got hit from behind into the boards playing hockey, and that altered my life in a way that is undescribable. I was in and out of therapy, relearning to walk and talk for about a year. They talked to my parents, the doctors talked to my parents, didn't know if I'd always have a speech impediment, if I'd ever be able to go to school again, all those things, and I kind of beat those odds, so that was a plus. Then after that, I obviously, my hockey ended, and I wanted to still do sports, so I did track and field a little bit when I finally got my strength back and back to normal, and I actually got a college scholarship for track and field to a school up in Canada, but my parents, like many of you, probably told you that you're going to Christendom, whether you like it or not, so here I am. So I came home to North Carolina and decided to attend Christendom College. Tom McFadden, I can thank for that. I won't go into the full details now, but he definitely pulled some strings to get me into the school because I vehemently worked against trying to get in here. So, but much to my dismay, he got me in here. So that was good. But when I came to Christendom, I had a little bit of a identity loss. I had grown up playing hockey very competitively in North Carolina, and then moving to Canada. That's what I was kind of known for around all over the place. So when I came here, that was things definitely changed a little bit for me, and I had a harder time adjusting to that than I think I initially understood. I didn't have something that I was super focused on. I didn't have a sport that I was striving for to like really push myself and stay in line with. So I did what a lot of you guys do here. I went and drank in the woods a lot, and that was a really fun time. Too much fun, actually. We Tom and I were talking earlier. Between his freshman year and my freshman year, I mean, he still thinks he has me beat, but I guarantee you I drank more Milwaukee's Best than that guy over there. And that was great. I mean, Christendom for me at that time was one of the best things ever. I loved at that time, I love now, I love this school more than anything. One of the things that I don't love is school. So I loved being here for everything that it offered, except for actually like going to class and doing what I was supposed to be doing. That I did not like. So that was hard for me, and I kind of fought that a lot. Ultimately, it led to my removal from Christendom. And I was thinking back on that when I was thinking about the speech tonight and why that was. And I really think what that had a lot to do with was my lack of motivation and really my lack of focus. I had nothing like I did when I played hockey to really strive for and focus on. And I wasn't tempered in anything. There's nothing wrong with drinking, but when you just drink just to get wasted, that becomes an issue, especially if you do it every night of the week. And so that got pretty hard, and it was a struggle there. But when I got kicked out of school, that was when I think everything kind of changed, and it was honestly one of the best things that ever happened to me. And one of the best decisions, I learned a lot about myself in that, because the same day I got kicked out of school, my truck blew up and I lost my job. So I was in a lot of trouble there. So that was definitely difficult. But what I didn't understand at the time is when I had been kicked out of school, everything that Christendom had given me, I had kind of put on the back burner. I had a little bit of resentment, a little bit of pride, a lot of issues with myself there that I was dealing with. And behind all of that, I didn't realize what I had actually gained from Christendom. And that is what I'm here to talk to you about tonight, and how that's played a life in my business, played a life in my family, and really kind of open the doors and explain to you what entrepreneurship is. It's what I do, it's what Jeremy does, running businesses, and why it's something that I am very passionate about, and now I am very focused on, and how it's had a ripple down effect on everything else I do. So I actually have never really known the definition of an entrepreneur until about 3 hours ago when I was writing this thing, and I was thinking about it, so I just did what everyone does and Googled it. So an entrepreneur is a person who organizes or operates a business or businesses. I'm glad I know what I am now, because that is what I do. And it is something that a lot of people have a lot of opinions about. Right now, it seems to be a very popular thing, right? If you were back in the 80s to be an entrepreneur, you were kind of a loser. Like, you weren't anything. Like, what does that mean? You're just this guy. You're not really doing something in particular. You're just going to be a business owner. But now it seems to have this kind of like, it kind of comes in waves. And right now, I think there's a big fad behind being an entrepreneur. So, with that being said, there's a lot of pros and cons to it. Being an entrepreneur, you are your own boss. That's an awesome thing. That does not mean that you get to take off whenever you want. Actually, what it means is you never get to take off. My lawyer always tells me, I don't ever get time off, I just get a change of scenery. So if I go out of town and something does go wrong, the buck stops here. I get the calls in the middle of the night. So that can always, that is not fun. And a lot of people do go into entrepreneurship, or a lot of people have an idea about it, that they want to, with an ego kind of behind it. They want to be the boss, they want to run their own thing, do their own thing, have their own time schedules, and to be honest with you, anytime I've seen that mentality pushed forward, it never works. It never works, because that is the complete opposite of what is actually needed to run a business and actually be successful. Anytime you have an ego put forward, it's not going to work. And to be honest with you, there are so many things that I missed out on because of my actions when I got kicked out of school, that I wish I could go back and be in your shoes now. So I want to kind of open that up and just explain that to you guys real quick. Some of the suggestions that I have for everybody in this room that I think is very important that you guys should be doing is talking to everyone, okay? Running a business, or not even running a business, let me backtrack. Running a business, you do talk to everyone. You talk to anybody, you talk to whoever, you're always networking, connecting. People in the business realm have LinkedIn, I know a lot of you guys have it, but outside of that, like when you get into the world and you're working, there's a lot of networking going on. And I feel like there's a very big misconception among students that now is my time to party, my time to relax and focus on me. And it is your time to focus on you. But really, you should be forcing this now. You should be making these actions now, because there will be a time in your life very soon for a lot of you seniors, a little later for you juniors, and for the rest of you, but it will come that you will not be in college. And let me tell you, I would do anything to be back in your shoes for a week, to have no financial burden as far as dealing with paying bills at this moment. I know most of you guys, a lot of you have student loans. How many of you guys have student loans? Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. I just want to make sure. I had student loans, and they're a pain, okay? Especially when they come due. That's when they become a real pain. So, but I'll be honest with you, the opportunities that you guys have now to really focus on yourself and really hone that in and pay attention to how to make yourself a better person without the responsibilities of a family or kids or working a job, a career job. Those things and those now is the time to focus on you and make sure that those things actually go through. So back to my point, I recommend talking to everybody and meeting everybody. On that same note, I really recommend not writing people off. I can say that both because I have given it and I have received it, and I know that very well. I was a big partier here. I definitely wrote off a lot of people who I kind of put into the holy roller bubble or section or whatever you want to put it. And likewise, I think a lot of those holy rollers still judged me. But they definitely wrote me off for being a clown or a partier or whatever. But I will tell you, as soon as you get out of this school, and maybe it'll happen beforehand, you will quickly realize that your perception of people in school is very different in the real world. In the real world, it's not the biggest people always win. I went to boarding school, and I know some of you guys did too. I see a couple people from St. Greg's here. And in boarding school, the bigger guys, the tougher, the stronger, the more athletic guys kind of ruled the roost. And in college, I kind of feel like there's still kind of a mentality, a popularity contest a lot of times, and those people kind of rule the roost. The world is not like that, and they don't care who you are, where you came from. And the people that you might be writing off that you don't really know, it's going to come back to haunt you. So I want to make sure that I drive that point home. Definitely communicate with people. And don't write somebody off before you get a chance to talk to them, because you'd be shocked at what people can do there. as I said earlier, these points that I'm making, these are things that everyone should be focused on right now. Like I said, in college, now is the time to get ahead, because if you're not working on these now, when you come out of school, you're gonna be the deer in the headlights, and that definitely has been an issue. As far as Christendom goes and how they've impacted me and my life here, it is absolutely mind-boggling to me how many people in the real world cannot think. And I know you hear it all the time. The liberal arts education, you can think better than anybody. It'll teach you to think, but it is so true, and you will see that very soon. Hold on. I'm just gonna say that. Can you still hear me? Yeah. But if the mainstream, against what all the mainstream world wants to tell you about, you need to go to college for a specific thing and do this and do that. Unless you want to be a lawyer or a doctor, or maybe some other kind of really specific industries, being able to think is more important than anything, because the world is always changing. I was reading a statistic about technology, and I know nothing about technology. I hire people who know stuff about technology, because I know nothing. But they were saying, I was reading this about people who learn something, and the technological world within 3 years it's almost completely turned itself around. There's no way to really keep up with that. What you learn in college about, if you're going for computer science, will not be what is going on by the time you graduate and what you learned your freshman year. It just doesn't happen. So the ability to see the world and its ability and its movement and its actions, and be able to take that in and realize it, and then react to it in a timely fashion, is incredibly important and incredibly useful, and it will shock the world at how fast you can move up the chain. Because if you're not doing those things, you are going to be failing. You will have to learn from. You will not be the boss. You will be under the boss, because the boss is the one who's making those calls, and the student, the one who's being told what to do, will be the one making those actions. So the ability to think here at Christendom is incredible, and the ability to take that in. So back to my life and kind of how that plays in. For me, I was not, like I said earlier, I was not focused on what I needed to be doing, and my ability to really think and learn. Very abstract. I'm not a theologian. I am not a philosopher. I'm really not cut out for any of that, actually. But so I'm very practical in things, and that's what I look for, is the practicality. So I know a lot of you, maybe some of you guys will join the religious life. Some of you guys might be authors or something along those lines. That wasn't for me, and I'm sure it's not for a lot of you in here. So what I asked that you guys probably try to focus on is taking your studies and figuring out a way to use them and think about them to apply them to practical reasons. That is something that I did not do, and I really, really missed out on that, because there was so much knowledge here, so many amazing faculty, so many amazing staff, so many awesome classes that are not offered really at normal schools or other schools that are offered here, that if you can take that knowledge and take those ideas and put them into practicality, it's amazing. It is absolutely something that I missed out on, and I really can't stress enough that I can see how that could be an awesome thing for all of you. Let's see here. My pages are all messed up. So, with liberal arts education, you can probably hear this a lot, that I actually, Ms. Stevens, I think, mentioned it earlier, that you can do anything you want to do with a liberal arts education. That is very true. You can literally do whatever you want to do with a liberal arts education, but you need to be focused in that. And I saw a quote the other day, it was a really good quote, I put it up on my wall actually, which is, you can do anything you want to do as soon as you stop trying to do everything you want to do. And that's very key, because that is my biggest drawback. That is something that I am really trying to work on and focus on, which is, I have a million good ideas, or at least I think I do. Every 5 minutes, I have a million things that I think could like shock the world, but they don't, because if I'm so spread out and you're all over the map, you won't achieve anything. Nothing will get done. So I push in your studies, in business, really take that time to focus on what it is that you want to do, and stick to it and focus on it, because it is extremely important. One of the other biggest limitations that I've seen with people outside of the Christendom circle, and something I've seen, actually, I do a lot of work in Northern Virginia, and I've seen it happen there, which is so many people, and I've seen it with some of my friends even, the biggest limitations to people are the boxes that they put themselves in. I know it sounds super cliche and super corny. You probably saw a quote on Instagram with that same exact wording, but that's honestly the truth. People put themselves in these boxes, and they set limitations on themselves. I am not going to ever let that happen to me, and I don't think any of you should either. And I know that if I had fallen into that, I got kicked out of school, my truck blew up, I was just I'd be sitting on Ekram's porch over at Shortstop having a couple 40s right now, and I wouldn't be where I am right now. And to be honest with you, those limitations that you place on yourself are not good. Another thing that I wanted to say real quick about, I meant to mention this earlier, but my notes were mixed up. So, something I want to say about entrepreneurship, and one of the biggest complaints I hear about it, so when running a business, is that it's not stable. People want a stability, and they want that paycheck that comes in every 2 weeks, and I understand that. I totally understand that method. You can ask my wife, she's here somewhere, how many nights I stay up wide awake because I am worried about different things with the business, and I don't clock out at 5 o'clock and just get to go home. But what I will tell you, and I would challenge that, is I really don't believe that anything is stable. Okay, you could have a job and you might get paid every 2 weeks on the dot, but you might get fired, or you might get sick, or something tragic could happen, or something great could happen. Things are always constantly changing. And it's just, if you don't realize that, and that's one of those things about what I was mentioning about the world is always changing. If you can't get in line with that, it's gonna steamroll right over top of you. So you need to get on board with that. So, and I get it, entrepreneurship is not for everybody, but that stability aspect, to me, is something that I really think is kind of a false idea, false conception. It's unachievable because you're never really in control. I mean, only God is in control. He runs our entire lives, and at any point in time, something bad could happen. So before we did this thing, Tom McFadden asked me a question about how does my work help to restore all things in Christ? Okay, you guys have heard that once or twice. So I thought about that, because I hadn't thought about that. And I came up with really about 3 things in particular. Obviously, number 1, to provide for my family. It's my wife, and I have a little baby. And that's the first and foremost of why I work. Second, I really want to cultivate an atmosphere and an area that is so amazing like Front Royal. I know most of you guys probably, I know a lot of you probably don't like Front Royal or are going to leave Front Royal afterwards. I used to think that way too. Once you have a kid and you settle down here, you realize how awesome this place is. But I wanted to cultivate that, and I wanted to bring that for other people. So everyone in my company went to Christendom except for actually me and my sister, and everyone graduated from there except for my sister and I. So that'll tell you something. But so that was, but I want to give that to the community around here, and I want to offer that because everything you get in return. I am here because of the awesome community that I was welcomed into, and the awesome time that I've had here. So that's probably the second biggest thing. But ultimately, for me, ultimately to provide for my family is probably number 1. But something that I really do want to drive home that I think is really important, and I don't think it's a big issue with probably the students here, but you'll see it when you get older, when you get out of school, especially in the Catholic community. I think there is a big misconception about the idea of being successful and being a good Catholic, that they are opposing ideas. They're not opposing ideas, and they can be done, and that's something that I'm trying to do. I want to be a successful person. I want to be successful in everything I do. I want to be successful in my marriage and in fatherhood, in my businesses, in everything that I strive to do. But I want to, and I want to be a good Catholic. And how am I restoring all things in Christ through that? What does that mean? For me, it's not only are they not contradicting, and are they kind of complementary, they're attractive. They're attractive to the world, okay? When you walk around with your heads in the sand and you only kind of focused on you, or you have something that's unattractive about you, no one's going to want to be around that, and no one's going to feel called to that. So I deal with plenty of people. Most of them are not Catholics, and I want to be an attractive thing to them. I want to have an attractive business, an attractive mindset, an attractive mentality. I want that for them, and I want them to come to that. And that's my way of doing it. I want to show that success and being a good Catholic go hand in hand. So once again, I want to thank you guys all for being here tonight. This is incredible turnout. It was a little overwhelming, and I want to thank Tom McFadden in particular. That guy, even when I was getting kicked out, man, he still was in my corner, and it was great. And I know he's like hiding back there in the dark, but. I really appreciate the opportunity to come back here and do this, Tom. I really do. This has been awesome. I initially started working the way I started working. A lot of it was a chip on my shoulder to show people at Christendom that I was better than what I showed them. And I feel like I'm slowly achieving that because I kind of dropped that mentality and just try to do what God wants me to do and do the right thing. So thanks again, Tom. Thank you guys all for being here.
Has been a great friend kind of throughout my time at Christendom. We're basically here at the same time. And as he said, don't put limits on yourself. And Larry has been someone who I've always looked to as doing that. I mean, he just does not limit himself in any way. And I've always looked to him for that. So I really appreciate your friendship, Larry. There is, however, one time with Larry that I did not trust his judgment. We're basically pals from North Carolina. So I'm from Asheville. He's from kind of the Raleigh area. He took me hunting. I think it was our sophomore year. And basically, he put this huge pile of deer feed. I mean, like this thing is this high. He put me up in a stand. He gave me a gun. He said, Minnick, just sit here. Wait like 20 minutes. A deer will come along. Wait another hour. More will come. 5 hours later, I climbed down the deer stand, gave up on his advice, and went and took a nap until he got back. So you haven't always been right, Larry. Sorry. The first kind of official thank you goes to the bartenders. Thank you for handing me a beer. My entire time here at Christendom, I was under 21, so I could never do that. So thank you very much for assisting me. Number two, to Tom and to Kristen as well, thank you, like Larry, for allowing us to speak at Life on Tap. And this is a huge honor. Although I did joke with Tom beforehand that I sort of felt like we were selected as sort of like the young guys who somehow are doing amazing things, and we're not really sure how, but we'll invite them to speak. And third, thank you all for being here. Up until about 30 minutes ago, I thought that this was not a mandatory event, but apparently you all have to be here, so thanks for coming anyways. So a little bit about who I am. I'm Jeremy Minnick. Basically, just in terms of kind of my time at Christendom, I graduated in 2016. Currently, you all will see me a lot around campus. I'm head coach of the men's basketball team. We're looking forward to the season coming up. On kind of a business front, my baby is Enable, a web design and marketing company. I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go along tonight. I also have a joint venture with Larry called Sports Vision. Basically, we run sports camps to help build virtue in young men and women, not even necessarily Catholic. That's part of our mission. So really excited about that. And finally, I'm basically director of digital marketing for a strategy consulting group out of the Atlanta, Georgia area. Okay, so I have my hands in a lot. Very grateful for every bit of it. As far as sort of my journey to Christendom is concerned, sort of starting my business, Enable, basically, why did I come to Christendom? Well, first of all, I had 3 older siblings. All of them came to Christendom, and they all majored in philosophy. So there really wasn't a choice. Number 2, I really wanted the relationships. In high school, I had some great friends. I had a great homeschool, that's right, homeschool co-op. I loved every bit of it, and I loved the friendships that I had there, and I wanted to seek that out in my years of college. And finally, though this may seem obvious, I wanted a Catholic school. Really in part because all my best friends growing up, for the most part with the exception of one, were Protestant. And they were great friends. But at the end of the day, at the most basic and fundamental and most important level of my life, they didn't share my faith. And so honestly, when I came to Christendom, it literally felt like, you're on drugs, you're on the high of your life. I mean, going to Mass every day with 400 other Catholic people your age, playing sports, praying before sports, Catholic prayers, I mean, the whole 9 yards. was incredible. And I hope that many of you have experienced that same thing, and if you haven't, I really hope that you do while you're here at Christendom. Kind of next step on the journey was freshman year. I think I can sum it up basically by saying, for the men in the room, basement Benz. True survival. I mean, true survival. You're not only fighting, sleep deprivation, disease, drunkenness, the whole 9 yards. It's just awful. It's survival mode, and it's wonderful at the same time. The summer before, though, and this is, again, part of the entrepreneurship and the business end of things tonight that I want to speak to you all about. In the summer before, basically, let me quickly take a step back. What I'd like to do tonight is essentially, for the next 10 minutes or so, walk you through just my life. And that's not something you often kind of find me doing, sharing literally kind of my path, but I think that's important. I think everybody in this room, by the way, has a story, and a really cool one. And I want to share that story with you all tonight. So that's the first part. And then in the second part, I want to just leave you all with some sort of wisdoms and some takeaways and tips of basically what can you do at your time here at Christendom, okay, to prepare yourself for after. So before freshman year, I worked at a sandwich shop called Roman's Takeout. I was basically delivery boy, and I was essentially like a track sprinter, okay? We delivered sandwiches on foot all over Asheville, North Carolina, super hilly city, and on a moped, and it was awesome, okay? So that was my first job, and my main point there is it was incredibly hard work. Okay, that may sound ironic, but I mean, there were days from 11:30 to 2:30 at lunch where literally I would not stop running the entire time I was there. Okay, an incredibly hard job, incredibly high pressure, lines out the door the entire time. It taught me how to work hard, and I'll come back to that theme a little bit later. That same summer as well, I interned for my brother at Minnick Law. I'll come back to that story in a minute, but again, just sharing with you a little bit about my kind of working path as I entered Christendom. At school, I worked at the operations department. That was pretty much what was going on freshman year. So in the transition then, kind of next phase of my life, okay, what happens after freshman year? You had a lot of fun, and now you're broke. Okay, so now it's time to go back home and make a lot more money. So that's what I try to do. So basically, before sophomore year, I went back to Roman's Takeout. Again, kind of got promoted in a sense, but still incredibly hard work. I once again interned at Minnick Law. It was basically the same path all over again. I came back to school. I was the director of transportations and basically continued to work for Minnick Law. Here's where kind of the story kicks in. Okay, so I woke up literally one day sophomore year. My grand plan was that my brother James Minnick and I were going to open up Minnick and Minnick Law Firm in North Carolina. Okay, it was going to be amazing. We were going to be brothers. And then I woke up one day sophomore year and I was like, nope, that is definitely not the path for me. I do not want to do that. So I called him up. I said, Jake, I don't want to work for you this summer, at least as an intern, but I'm still a poor, broke college student who needs some money. So you got a job for me? He said, I got this thing. I got a website. I don't really know what I'm doing with it. I've heard about this thing called digital marketing and SEO. Okay, can I basically pay you to play? And I said, sure. So essentially, junior year, before I went to Rome, I came home. I once again worked at Roman's Takeout. For Minnick Law, I had stepped up my game, okay? I had asked my brother basically for a new kind of opportunity. Okay, so I really developed the website for Minnick Law. I led a lot of the digital marketing operations at Minnick Law. And finally, I valeted at Grove Park Inn. And really in all three of those jobs, I'm going to be honest, it was incredibly hard work. Okay, incredibly hard work. And let me tell you a little bit about why. Number one, I had met a very beautiful girl sophomore year. Okay, she's now my wife, Mary. And because of that, as we prepared for Rome, not only did I have to pay for Rome and other things, I had to pay for a ring. Okay, so it makes a man work real hard. Basically was working from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. every day on the grind, right? Because you're motivated, right? You have things in your life, you want to go achieve them. Okay, so that's what I was doing every single day. Quick story. One of my highlights at Grove Park Inn is I got to meet Michael Jordan. That was pretty cool. So one day we had heard that he was going to come basically to the park. We were like, oh, we've got no chance of seeing this guy come through the front door. Said he was going to come through the back door. But all of a sudden, it's getting super filled up right in the foyer, the courtyard. Basically, all of a sudden, just kind of a regular old BMW. Yeah, the Grove Park Inn, that's like mid-tier, yeah. Regular old BMW comes cruising on down, and basically I see this guy in the driver's seat. Literally, he looks like he's 10 feet back from the steering wheel. He's got a ring in his ear. And I was like, holy crap, I'm about to ballet Michael Jordan, baby. So I opened up the door, basically welcomed him in. I think my manager was having a heart attack, that I was the one to greet him, because I'd been telling him all day that I was going to get him to sign something. He said he'd fire me if I did that. And finally, for those of you who have seen Space Jam, as I basically wrote a ticket for his golf clubs, I was like, hey, Mr. Jordan, when you golf tomorrow, don't get sucked down that hole. And he kicked back, he gave me this huge laugh. It was the greatest feeling ever for a basketball player, man. Greatest. So then sort of onto the spring. And again, really, here's where the story continues to sort of pick up. And here's sort of, I want to highlight some things. So first of all, for Crusader Athletics, I kind of saw an opportunity that there was actually going to be a new website built, and that someone would maybe need to manage that. I thought, well, that'd be kind of cool. Someone maybe needed to do the social media on that. So I literally went to Josh Peterson, athletic director at the time, and I basically created a job for myself. Okay? I said, hey, Josh, let me do these things. Let me work with the company. Right? I was basically managing the project. I said, let me do it for you. And he said, sure. Additionally, again, still at Minute Law PC, was basically director of marketing in a sense. And finally, kind of comes the origin of Enable. So truly, I just want to kind of share with you as it happened here on campus. One day, spring semester, junior year, I was literally sitting at that table right over there, and I picked up the phone and I called an alumni, Jack Donahue, owner of Timberworks Tree Care. You've probably seen t-shirts all over campus. Okay, so I called him up and I told him, Jack, I want to build your website. Okay, so we basically talked for about an hour, and he finally trusted me. After I finished the website, he handed me a check for $300, and I cannot tell you, that was the best $300 I've ever had in my entire life. Okay, it was amazing. Came from hard work, came from creating the opportunity, and it was awesome. Right after that, built a website for Christian Kopek Painting, and finally after that with Hugh Bratt and Nate Collins for Illinato. So basically, boom, 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 spring semester, had built websites and begun to market for basically 3 different alumni in the area. After that, basically in the summer before senior year, I got married to my wife Mary. We've now had 3 beautiful boys. Love them all a ton. And basically, in the summer before my senior year, it was full guns. Enable full time. I was basically director of marketing for my brother's firm, Minnick Law. Okay, and even had the time to play soccer. It's awesome to look out in the room and see a lot of these people who were on the team at that time. Okay, PJ had one of the greatest goals against Berkeley. Love you, man. Great game, man. So it was a blast, and that's just a little bit about the journey. So kind of on to part 2. So basically, how can you all prepare yourself? By the way, I don't do this to pat my back, but I just want to point out to you and empower you, truly motivate you guys how possible this is. I don't know if you picked up on this, okay? But basically, I'm 23 years old now. I've been running Enable for 3.5 years, which I started in my junior year of college. Okay, I got married before my senior year. Why do I say that? Because it's possible, okay? Because you don't have to treat college as this hiatus where, and you can. I'm not saying you can't do that. You can have fun, right? But you don't have to treat college as this hiatus of, man, I'm shackled, I'm chained, I'm in college, there's nothing I can do. Go get it, right? Go get it. I want to empower all of you. Go get it. Go after it. Don't be limited. But in terms of sort of how I think that you all can prepare for post-Christendom, okay? First of all, just a quick checklist of things that I think you should do here at your time on campus. First of all, with your classes, especially your teachers, here's my point. Don't just learn inside the classroom. Some of the most amazing things I ever learned from my teachers came from office hours, came from sitting with them at lunch, right? It comes from those conversations that you have with them outside of class. For those who are in terms of philosophy, but also liberal arts education, I want to say 2 things I think are incredible about the liberal arts education. The first is, especially through philosophy, you think with the end in mind, okay? Why do so many liberal arts graduates become project managers, become executives at companies? Because they can literally, they see the end, they see where the team or the company needs to go, and they see the steps to get there. And secondly, especially in terms of business development, sales, and customer support, it's really nothing more than understanding human nature. It is nothing more than understanding human nature. So invest in, especially again, understanding the end in mind, that philosophical sort of telos and the human nature. In terms of extracurriculars, join it, do it, have fun, don't hold back, okay? Don't look back at your time and go, oh, I just wish I had done more, right? Because no one ever says, no one ever says, I just did too much. You may have partied too much or not taken your life seriously enough. But nobody ever looks back and goes, I did too much at my time at Christendom. Okay, so don't hold back. Do it all. Sports, SAC, your classes, other groups. Things like this, career development, Life on Tap. Okay, these are all great opportunities to sort of build your resume, learn, grow, in basically becoming a business person, taking the next step. Even jobs on campus, find one, or I would honestly encourage you, create one. Even my time here, I actually built a website for the events at Christendom as well. And in my time since, I've built another website for them. So I've created these opportunities, I've stayed in the loop. And then in terms of jobs off campus, I think Larry left this out a little bit, but he can attest, he worked a lot of, several, right, jobs off campus. During his time here, literally there are alumni like Timberworks, there are contractors, there are law firms that you could reach out to, ask if you can intern with, write blog posts for. There are doctors you could Skype call, ask them how it's been going for them, how they took the path. There are so many ways, so many easy ways to get involved in terms of jobs, external to Christendom. And I think finally, to encourage all of you, my employees at Enable, so a little bit about Enable, a web design and marketing firm. We specialize especially in helping law firms, contractors, and healthcare companies, okay, to basically especially generate leads locally, and as we say, win their market. But I think that my employees are a great example of this. There are actually a couple of people, Mary Catherine in the room, I may be missing one or two others who have interned and actually worked before at Enable. Others would include that you may know Matthew Summers, William Scuba, Kayla Newcomb, way back in the day, Dominic DeSouza. Okay, these are all people who work on my team who all showed the principles I'm about to talk about as I close here. Okay, they all showed these things, and I saw that, which is why I wanted them to join my team. So to close, three things basically that I think are, I gave you the action steps, the quick list of what to do here at your time in preparation for after Christendom. But let me leave you with these three things that I think make any man or woman a great business person, a great teammate, okay, and maybe even a great entrepreneur. All right, the first one is work hard. All right, learn to work hard and then keep working harder and harder. A couple of kind of non-personal examples of this. I actually just watched the movie McFarland, USA. This is about a track team basically in, I believe it's, now I'm actually blanking, but I believe it's Texas or New Mexico, okay? But basically this high school team, it's total ghetto. They got no sports, everybody's broke and poor, and basically a white coach who lost his job from coaching a football team somewhere else comes there, coaches the cross-country team, and McFarland went on to win literally I think it was 7 out of the next 13 state titles, okay? He turned the team around, and how did he do that? They were a bunch of pickers, okay? They picked lettuce in the fields, a bunch of Mexicans who picked lettuce in the fields, okay? And it was back-breaking work. And what he said to them, one day he went out with them to help them meet their quota before coming to practice. And he basically, in the movie, he comes back from that day and he literally cannot walk. He's been bent over all day, picking lettuce, his back is broken. And so basically before the championship, he says to them, these white kids over here, okay, they cannot even imagine the things that you can imagine in terms of hard work. And you're great runners, so go out and get them. So my point is, watch people who work hard, right? Work hard yourself. There's also, I'll tell another quick story. I love this one. Eric Thomas is this awesome motivational speaker. He's been on like Facebook and YouTube. You may have seen him. Kind of a shorter black guy. He talks to a lot of sports teams. He talks to a lot of like adult business groups and stuff like that. And the basketball team, bear with me, you guys have heard this one before. Okay, but basically the short story tells us that there was this guru, okay? And one day this kind of young man comes walking down the beach and he stumbles upon this guru, and the guru asks him, do you want to be successful? The young man says, yeah, I want to be successful. And he says, okay, come follow me. And he walks out in the water and he beckons for the young man to come out there. The young man says, you want to walk out in the water? He says, yeah. And he says, come out a little bit farther. So now at this point they're waist deep. Okay, he says, keep coming with me. Come out a little bit farther. He comes out to shoulders. Okay, and right when he basically gets to his chin, the guru basically takes a step forward, grabs his shoulders, dunks him under the water, and he's holding him down, he's holding him down, he's holding him down. And finally, as he's struggling, he gasps for air, he lets him up. And he said, what was that for, man? And he goes, when you want to be successful, as bad as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful. Okay? When you want to be successful, as bad as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful. Okay? Great story. Again, just quickly, Romans Takeout, valeting at the Grove Park Inn, Enable, starting my own company. I learned to work hard, and I just, again, encourage all of you to do it. All right, all of us can work hard. Number 2 is build relationships. Build lots of relationships and focus on a few of your best. Okay, so for example, from a business standpoint, those alumni, Jack, Christian, Hugh, they became my first clients. All right, that was so important to me to build those relationships. I also have now, I think probably 70% of my business comes from referrals from the alumni network and things like that. Larry is even a client of mine. Okay, so it's been great relationships that I've built from Christendom. Now, on a very serious level for a second, I encourage you to all build here at Christendom a relationship with Christ. Okay, you guys hear this all the time. I think one of the previous chaplains, Father Planty, said it best. He said, basically 30 minutes a day in front of the sacrament will change your lives. I think that's so true. Okay, so true. And if you think it's hard to make it to the chapel now in your lives, wait till you have a career. Okay, it becomes 20-fold, 100-fold, much more difficult, right, to get to the chapel, to go to daily mass, to take the sacraments. All right, so challenge each other, push each other, help each other along in that, and build a relationship with the Lord. And finally, I think live your faith. Okay, so that's my final challenge, if you will, but just sharing that with you. Live your faith in all that you do. Okay, so this is sort of the again, Tom had asked us to basically think about how we're, what am I looking for here, Larry? What's the, restoring all things in Christ. Thank you. Okay, that's what I'm getting at here. Live your faith in all that you do. Okay, so first of all, I learned that from my brother Jake at Benedict Law. In his job, he would pray daily with his team, none of whom were Catholic. Okay, so he showed daily an example of prayer in a public way. In terms of non-Catholic clients in my own life, we've actually in the healthcare space had to turn down quite a few. We've had to actually kind of weed out those who may use unmoral types of stem cell practices in their healthcare practice and things like that. Right? So trying to be a daily example of how you live that out is super important. And finally, for those of you especially who are interested in kind of communications and marketing or ministry or different things like that, what a great way to live your faith. We've got tons of clients. To name a few would be Father Spitzer and his organization, the Majid Center, Charbel Raish in Australia, Perugia Media, and then a kind of slew of alumni who are all Catholic clients, all helping to spread the word into evangelization. And we help them. We help them through Enable. All right, so to wrap up, again, just quickly, I just want to leave you all with, number 1, work hard. Number 2, build relationships. And number 3, live your faith in all that you guys do. And you will be successful. All right, thank you all very much.